This is the best build in Path of Exile 2. You teleport as fast as you possibly can. It's an Autobomber, so everything around you just automatically dies. You do millions and millions of DPS and cap out somewhere around the 200 million DPS mark on high-end gear. And it's just a great overall playstyle with solid defenses, infinite life recovery, and it's probably the best build I'll ever play in Path of Exile 2. The core interaction of this build is between Temporalis and Choir of the Storm. Now note here, Temporalis is really expensive. The only way you can get it is by finishing a no-hit Sanctum run. So this is a unique enabled build. So despite the fact that it's really powerful, it's obviously really hard to set up. And I think that's why this item even exists, because it's really hard to do. Anyways, Choir of the Storm is able to trigger lightning bolts, and it usually has, I think, a 0.5 second cooldown. When you have Temporalis, which reduces the cooldown of all skills by, well, up to 4 seconds, it removes that cooldown on Choir of the Storm. Now, this is already really powerful and means you can trigger it tons if you use, fast-hitting skills like Eye of Winter, Firestorm, Fireball with shotgunning, Spark, that sort of thing. However, Choir of the Storm triggers Lightning Bolts on any critical hit. In this case, it can actually trigger Lightning Bolt from its own critical hits from Lightning Bolt. In other words, you get many lightning bolts. I would recommend playing against crit cap. I noticed that anything over 75% crit chance has a really high chance of just crashing my instance altogether, rolling everything back, deleting the map, and saying that I failed the map. So that really sucks. I'm currently playing at roughly around 70% crit chance, and I feel like this is fairly good feeling. The other really nice thing about Temporalis is that it reduces all cooldowns, not just item cooldowns. So in my case, Blink is probably the most obvious use case. It basically removes the entire cooldown on my Blink, which means I can teleport anywhere I want all the time, as fast as I possibly can. Obviously, there's a cast speed multiplier to Blink itself, but then I'm also able to pair this with cast on dodge. The thing about Blink is that I think it counts as traveling like 16 meters or something like that when you do Blink. So it basically is really easy to trigger most medium cast speed spells. In this case, I'm triggering 2 sparks and then 1 additional spark. That 1 additional sparks with cast on crit. The 2 sparks that are in my cast on dodge roll is for one primary reason. So this gun, he dropped by and kind of shared a lot of details about what he was doing with this build, and he noticed one really particularly interesting interaction. If you put 2 sparks, one at the start of the skill gem of cast on dodge roll and one at the end, one of the sparks will actually trigger at the start of your blink, but the actual second spark will also trigger at the end of your blink. And this is really helpful for clear. Normally, cast on dodge roll builds, wherever they may exist, actually have kind of awkward clear. It's a little bit not great because it kind of starts the projectile from where you started TPing as opposed to where you're ending. In this case though, if you run 2 different sparks, firstly you get better trigger rate, more consistency while clearing, but moreover you get that second spark starting from where you land after the blink, so really helps that you're clear. I'll go into the gear right now, but it's a fairly straightforward build despite how awesome and amazing it looks. I hope you guys have a ton of fun playing this if you're able to accumulate that kind of currency. It's just a great chase build. I'm really glad Grinding Gear Games put this item into the game because it's so fun to build around. I think there's just so many different opportunities. So I'll go over my unique items first. The first thing is Temporalis. I haven't socketed it because I probably want to use rarity gear. But that last line is the big one, that skills have minus seconds to cooldown. That's a flat number, really powerful. Choir of the Storm is most of the damage. That lightning bolt is pretty strong, level 19, so it's not too bad. The other 3 uniques I'm using. Font of Power gives me extra spirit. I don't really need to use this, but because I like to have a lot of extra triggers and like a lot of smoothness from all those triggers, this ends up being really great, really cheap. I was just really poor after buying Temporalis. I'm in debt still, technically. Azirius Sustain, this helmet is a great defensive helmet. You can see that it's responsible for over half of my energy shields. That's really great. And it gives me extra spirit from the corruption. Really cheap because it's a very common helmet. Rarity is also nice. And the damage taken bypass ES is nice because I actually have decent mana and life recovery because of, well, this chest. And also instant blood leech, life leech from the blood mage. That's really cool. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. Azir's Acuity is the last unique I'm using. This makes your leech instant. So my life leech is really powerful, very potent. It's possible later on that I can drop that for this node over here in Anoint, but this Anoint in and of itself costs like 10 divines, and I'm actually like just totally broke. Rares, Wand, you really want to go for crit chance. Probably crit multi if you could, cast speed, plus lightning spell skills. Those are sort of the suffixes, and then prefix side looking for spell damage, damage gained as lightning, not cold, max mana, and then mana hybrid spell damage. Rings, you want rarity, res, attributes, life, mana, ES. It's all good. It's pretty straightforward. Belt, res, life, mana, not the best gear that I have going on. And then finally boots, I chose to skip move speed. This made these boots really cheap. These are like 20 chaos. If you want move speed on a pair of boots like this, instead of say like percent increase ES, it jacks up the price significantly. But because I can just like teleport around and everything, I don't really care about movement speed that much. I just get used to clicking slightly over to pick up some loot. Gem setup. My lightning bolt links are conk effect, consider casting spell echo, lightning mastery. Light remnants have clarity, just some extra spirit. Cast on crit. This is my secondary setup, and this kind of lets you have the AFK playstyle if you're doing stationary mechanics like Simulacrum. So Spark is linked there, Fork, and Life Tap. And then in my cast on dodge setup with my two separate Sparks, Chain over here, and Acceleration. Both really great utility links for Spark, help out with hit rate. Finally, Blink with Ingenuity and Arcane Tempo. I don't actually know if Ingenuity does anything. It might not, because I think this might be like post-calc, but I don't know. And then finally, Mana Tempest. I don't really know how to use this yet, but it does work, and it's really, really strong. But yeah, that's pretty much the setup. Pretty straightforward. Ascendancies. 1, obviously. 2, 3, and then 4. I got these all done at the same time, just got a lab carry, because Blood Mage is really horrible as far as like lab progression goes. The tree is just a lot of crit nodes. I tend to actually skip crit chance, because crit chance has a higher chance of crashing your instance. The hit rate goes way too high, so I'm looking for things like crit multi. I also opt for, you know, rather energy shield here, ES here, and it's actually really great to build that kind of pool. I personally think some people go Eldritch Battery and just build a big mana pool, much bigger Archmage multipliers, bigger damage, but I feel like having this level of defense is way, way, way better. Just having this big pool is fantastic. I will note that where you can get cast speed, it's extremely valuable to do so because it makes your blink faster. So yeah, try to do that. Pretty straightforward tree to follow. I don't have any real jewels in so far. I mean, I have like this one right now, but basically you want damage or triggered stuff. You don't need energy gain at all on this. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward build. It looks super, super OP because it is. I mean, frankly, it's enabled by what I think is the #1 chase unique in the entire game. And it's definitely hard to farm for, but hey, if you're able to do it, this is it. I mean, this is the build.